The one skill that matters. Let's talk about one skill that if you develop that skill, you will have a complete competitive advantage. I would say borderline unfair competitive advantage against almost anyone. So I ask this question to many, many people. So whenever I talk to, especially young people, I ask them, what is one skill that if you develop, you will get a huge competitive advantage, borderline unfair competitive advantage? What is it? Sometimes I ask this question just to find out what kind of unique answers people will come. There are standard answers. Many of them will say innovation, creativity, execution, taking initiative, making things happen, uh, persistence, perseverance, leadership, seeing things that others don't, like predicting the future, ability to bring people together to make things happen. There's a ton of things, all of them are good. I'm not saying they're not bad, but rather than putting you on the spot and making it like a quiz, let me answer this myself. Here is my version. If there is one ability or skill that you want to develop, that is going to be the ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you. Now, let me repeat it once again. Your ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you will be a unique and unfair competitive advantage for you for the rest of your life. Before we think about anything, let's see if the skill was really there for you, what will be the consequence? Think about it. When somebody gives you a gift, there are two major emotions that come to you. One is the emotion of gratitude. You just feel, first of all, it's a meaningful gift, so you feel thankful. That's the first one. The second one is the feeling of reciprocation, which is probably the greatest force on earth today. So you will evoke two things that are very powerful, that is the feeling of gratitude and the feeling of reciprocation. So, but that will happen only if it's a meaningful gift. So let's think about, let's assume that it was a meaningful gift. Imagine you were going to do this at scale because it's a meaningful gift at scale, right? So then what happens? Let's say you're able to give one meaningful gift to every single person for the next 3 years. By the time you reach the third year, you would have given this gift to 1,000 people. Imagine the power of positive power that you will get if 1,000 people get the emotion of gratitude as well as the emotion of reciprocation. Let's take the worst case scenario. Let's apply the 80-20 rule in the opposite way. That means 80% of these people will just keep quiet and not do anything. They'll just say, oh, thank you very much, Raj, and then they move on. No gratitude, no reciprocation. There are 200 people who are ready to do something back to you. Imagine the reservoir power of that reciprocation, collective power of the reservoir of reciprocation by the end of 2 years. What will happen? For any of your project, there is a good chance that at the push of a button, you will get the help that you require right on time at a moment's notice. Why would you not think that this is an unfair competitive advantage? Right? Everybody needs help, unless your project is some silly project that has no meaning. But I'm not assuming that it is. So everybody needs help. So that's the first thing. Now, let's deconstruct the sentence so that we get to the bottom of it. Your ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost. First, let's go to the ability. Ability means something that you're able to do, something that you were not able to do before you develop that ability, which means if one person can do it, many people can do it if you put your heart into it. The ability to give meaningful gifts. So very first thing you have to give. And to know that it's meaningful, how would you know it? That means you should care for what the other person cares about. right? So that's the second thing that will come up like a side benefit. You'll start caring people. And since you can't read mind, you should also listen to what they're saying. So that's another good skill that will come as part of this package deal. Then comes the key part, which is the meaningful gift. Here you can just have a cop-out answer where you can say, you give some random gift and tell yourself that I think it was a meaningful gift. So for that matter, it is not the giver who says whether the gift was meaningful or not, but the receiver. They have to say, this gift was meaningful. And would they say it? Probably to make you feel happy, they might. But there's a litmus test for that. If what he gave was a truly, truly meaningful gift, the receiver will miss you in their past. What does that mean? How can anybody miss anybody in the past? Let me ask you a simple question. You have gone through a bunch of classes and you graduated master's, PhD, bachelor's, whatever it is. If I ask you from your kindergarten, can you remember the name of every single teacher that taught you? You'll probably say no. But if I ask you to remember some of them, you'll probably say yes. And of the batch that you remember, you can be pretty much split into two major parts. Part one, teachers were really bad. They're so bad that you remember because you wanted to remember how a teacher should not be. It's that bad. The other half are pure gold. Some of them shaped who you are, your values, beliefs, worldviews, what you became. You attribute something to them. One or two of them, they were so good that you miss them in your past. That means you wish you met them way before they became your teachers. That's the kind of feeling that I want to bring about. If you give somebody a meaningful gift, the gratitude and the reciprocation they feel should be so strong that they will miss you in their past, right? So the next two things very important. I say at scale, which means two things. It means whatever meaningful gift you are supposed to give, the incremental time required should be very small. That means you should know how to do it at rapid speed. Second, you should have mastery of some medium where you can take leverage of it. It could be a social media platform, it could be an association, somewhere where your effort gets multiplied so that you give this gift at scale. The last one, at a very low incremental cost to you, which means that this gift giving has to happen in the area of your strength, not in the area of your weakness. Definitely not, because then it will be a bad habit, it's not good. But what's the problem with it? The problem is most of you will not know what is your true strength. You have an idea, but your true strength is completely invisible to you unless somebody pointed it out to you like a mentor or someone. But how will you know it? You know it by being self-aware, which means not to be very cryptic. You start observing what smart people in your network are competent and they can do things by yourself come to you for help when the stakes are high. Because you may not know what's your core strength, but they do. People around you do. But you may not stop and recollect or reflect on all these things. Once you do this, you have the equation right. Your ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you creates a reservoir of reciprocation, which in turn creates an ability for you to push a button and ask for good help at a moment's notice for fulfilling your own projects. So it comes full circle. All the best.